Yo, what is going on, guys? Jay here, and today I have the review for 21 Savage's album that dropped January 12th, 2024, at the very top of the calendar year. We are talking about American Dream today. Now, let me just start off by saying this has been one of my favorite albums since it came out. Album of the year contender for me. I don't want to hype it up too much from the start, but I mean, yeah, let's get right into it. 21 is one of my favorite rappers, and I've been very excited to talk about this with you guys. The album kicks off with the intro of the same name as the album, American Dream, and it is just a little spoken word from 21 Savage's mother talking about the risk she took crossing the pond, coming over to America with 21, and how she thinks that risk paid off and how proud she is of him. Awesome intro. Lines you up for what you might think would be a more personal album, although it's really not. But again, similar to what I was saying about Future on We Don't Trust You, 21 is so comfortable in his lane and so good at what he does, he could still deliver a great album without doing anything too crazy. But at points on this album, 21 does switch it up, like on the first track, All of Me, which has a very soulful sample woven into the instrumental. It's a slower track from 21 in terms of the tempo, very catchy chorus. My shooter pescatarian, but he eat up all the beef. And like any typical 21 Savage song, this is about his come up through the gang life and violence he endured as a youngin'. And it's one of my favorite tracks on that album for sure. Very memorable. And again, it is on the slower side, but it does transition into another song that is not carried, but has a very strong soul sample woven into the instrumental that I absolutely love. And I love 21 rapping over instrumentals like this. You don't normally hear it except on a track like A Lot, which featured J. Cole, one of 21's best ever. But Red Rum is one of 21 Savage's biggest song off of this album. Yeah, I mean, I think this song went super viral because of its chorus, which is memorable and repetitive, similar to a lot of 21 Savage's biggest hits like Bank Account and Run, G Block. All they know is Red Rum, Red Rum, Red Rum, Red Rum, Red Rum. This is a longer track which has some great verses from 21 Savage. His delivery is cold as always. And this awesome instrumental is from London on the track and AOP, who absolutely killed it on this, by the way. And yeah, I mean, this is the biggest hit on the album. Personally, not in my top 5 tracks on the album, although it is great, it is catchy, it is memorable. And I love the way that 21 and London on the track incorporated these Glock sounds into the chorus as 21 is rapping about all that red rum, all that murder. You'll get the loading, cocking, and shooting of a Glock in the instrumental, which I think is very innovative, very creative. We do get a track on this album like See the Real, which also, again, has a fast, although the other two were in fast-paced trap instrumentals, but this is a fast-paced trap instrumental with the soul sample woven in. I don't think it's the best use of it, although See the Real is a great track. The tempo works very well for 21, although on the chorus he is doing some more high-pitched type of delivery with even some auto-tune at points and some very violent imagery, which I just don't think fits the vibe of this instrumental, which is why it's great. This instrumental is great, but you also have 21 on the chorus saying, my dog want nothing out of life but to kill people, and it just doesn't fit the vibe of the instrumental, although that is kind of what 21's known for. That is the type of lyricism and content that 21 is known to bring and brings throughout this whole album. Aside from that, we have a great 5-track banger, Run, that I want to talk about, starting off with Sneaky, which is one of my favorite instrumentals. The reason why I'm calling this the banger run is because a lot of these songs, not all of them, but a lot of the songs in this 5-track run have very high energy, fast-paced, urgent trap instrumentals where 21 is flowing his ass off, he's doing his thing, exactly in his bag, again with that gang talk, that drug talk, that sex talk, great punchlines, and a couple great features here too, although Sneaky is one where 21 is by himself, and this might be my favorite track of the bunch. And I love how he's got the ad-libs that he's using in the chorus, which is new for him, and it brings a lot of life to the track, as well as it makes it stick out in your mind. Next up is the robust and bass-heavy Pop Your Shit with Young Thug. This track also went viral for the chorus where 21 says, it smells like gas, I think somebody poop. A lot of people hate on that lyric, and obviously it's like a shitty lyric, it's a shitty lyric, but I mean, 21 Savage just makes fun music. Like, I don't know, if I was being super analytical, which I am at times, I would hate on that, but obviously I'm not going to a 21 Savage album. I'm not going into a 21 Savage album about to criticize the hell out of the writing. I think it's funny, to be honest. I think it's funny. And I mean, yeah, this song is super menacing. Young Thug has a feature, and it's always great to hear Thug, especially in 2024, because free that man, as I've been saying, as I will always say, because his feature here a little underwhelming. Although like I said, always a privilege to hear Thug. But on the outro, he does play with his vocals a little bit, give a very nice song outro. Moving into the next track, part of this banger run, which is Letter to My Brother, which is kind of, I would say, the black sheep of this 5-track run, because here we get, again, a more slow, soulful, very soulful instrumental, where 21, this is one of his most content-packed tracks in his career, where he, in my mind, I think he might be addressing the whole Gunna situation, where throughout the song, he's criticizing rats, talking about how could you stand on couches but you can't stand on business. And yeah, the soulful instrumental gives a great backdrop for 21 to talk about people who have switched up on him and just question how could people do that to each other after everything they've been through, especially in terms of, again, the aforementioned gang life that he's been a part of. How could people go through that together and then switch up on one another, not be there or tell on another? And this is pretty common 21 Savage content, although he does go pretty in-depth with some good writing on this track, dropping bars like, I can't kick it with your kind like I tore my meniscus, or Father God forgive me for my sins, take the mask off all my enemies out here acting like my friends. And yeah, another just super great track in this run. And again, another banger, Dangerous with Lil Durk. This might be my favorite track on the album. Hold on. I just had to double check that this track is produced by Metro. I was pretty sure it was. And Metro gives a super high energy, alarming, with some, alarming, but also some like siren type instruments going off in the background. Again, very high urgency, fast pace on this track. And this is actually a 3-verse track from 21, which he has a couple of on this album, where the second verse is Lil Durk, who absolutely kills it. Lil Durk is known to snap on a feature every so often, and he does it here, going super hard, very aggressive verse. And this is just 21 going in, Durk going in, fast flows, great punchlines, and like I said, one of my favorite tracks on the album. And the final track of this banger run is, of course, Nina with Travis Scott. And Travis Scott kicks off the song with no auto-tune, no type of vocal, none of that, just his raw, rough around the edges vocals, as he gives a super solid verse to kick the song off, talking about driving to the liquor store faded. And again, the raw, uncut energy that Travis brings to this track, I really appreciate. It cuts to a 21 verse after that, which honestly, this might be my least favorite track of this whole run. I know it is super popular. It, of course, has the Travis Scott feature on it, the Travis Scott stamp of approval, and it is a banger, no doubt. But I feel like 21's verse here is the most underwhelming compared to these other 5 tracks. But again, this is still a top-tier song for the album. Super high energy, fast pace, high tempo, all of that. But proceeding this run, we have the track NHIE, which again, I might say this a lot, but another one of my favorites on the album. There's a super hypnotic and entrancing instrumental on this song, from Doja Cat's underlying vocals here to the strings in the back that just warp you into this different type of environment. It has a different type of sound than the rest of this album. 21's chorus is super catchy. I love it. That ain't something I would do. Hell nah, let you slide like it's cool. His cadence and delivery is on point here. And Doja Cat also gives a really good
whispery but fun feature on this short track, which again is just, I don't want to say it's an anomaly, but it is definitely an anomaly in terms of 21 Savage's catalog. I've heard nothing like this from him before, and it's super unique, super fun. And now we get the final 5 tracks on the album to talk about. Now these tracks they aren't weak per se, but they're weak compared to the rest of the album. I would say at least a week going into great, because the first 3 tracks are the R&B cuts we have to talk about. Although Just Like Me might be more of an Afrobeats type track, but that's a different conversation. But kicking it off with Prove It by Summer Walker. Summer Walker and 21 Savage already have a collab song that's pretty low-key. It's called Secret. It's also good. This track is also pretty great. It's just 21 Savage on the romantic vibe. I enjoy it, but it has to be done right. And here's an instrumental where we get the soul sample. 21 Savage is doing his thing. His romantic talk is always a little bit interesting, you know? It's not particularly great, but it's not terrible. What really holds this back, or like I said, this track is pretty great, but it is underwhelming. It's because I feel like a lot of these flows that 21 is using feels reused, like we heard them at another point on the album. Summer Walker's chorus is great. She has a beautiful voice and she exercises that here, but it's just not one of my favorites off the album. But Should Have Worn a Bonnet might be the only maybe bad track per se on this album. I still think it's pretty good, but it's just definitely the weakest track on this pretty elite, pretty trim lineup, where we surprisingly get a Brent Faiyaz feature, who again delivers a great feature. It's just, I feel like it doesn't really mesh with 21 and his more stagnant, weaker flows here. His romantic talk is not great. His chorus is also not great either. Lace front fucked up. Shoulda worn your bonnet. Like, just doesn't resonate with me. His bars, weak for sure. Brent's voice is beautiful as expected, but I also feel like it overlaps weird with 21 Savage's voice, and also the pretty highly mixed vocals in the instrumental. Like, this track is good, but definitely the least revisitable on American Dream. And we also have the aforementioned Just Like Me with Burna Boy and Metro Boomin as well. Now, this is the best track of these three in my opinion, which was pretty surprising because I never really went back to this track since the album came out until just listening to it before for this review. I was like, damn, this is actually a pretty hard banger. And Burna Boy is a great chorus. I love 21's bridge, and I also love the way Metro Boomin here, because he produced the song, the way where he again, he does this in a lot of his songs, but he ups the pace of the track in the instrumental for 21's verse and then slows it down for Burna Boy to do his chorus. And it just works and flows so well. It's very progressive and makes it a super enjoyable song. It's the best romantic type 21 song on the album, even though he's dropping bars like, I asked her body count and she sent me a gif of me and Cole, which again, that's a like peak 21 humor. He's got the great punchline, some of the best in the game right now, might I add. Now moving on to the last two tracks. These are again two major highlights for the album, starting off with Red Sky. This track, again, we get another progressive instrumental where when 21 is rapping, well, first of all, on his verses, he's rapping his ass off, very high energy, very hungry here. There's also these intense violins playing while he raps, and it's pretty crazy. And then this singer that I've never heard of before, Tommy Newport, has the chorus, which is a very strong, robust chorus. His voice is very good, and the instrumental kind of taps out for a second. It gets real atmospheric just for 21 to come in and go in again with that energy, with that hunger. And the piano-led bridge while Tommy Newport is singing really helps in terms of that atmospheric, in terms of the powerful vibe, not powerful vibe, but in terms of the presence it had. Tommy Newport has a very strong track presence here. And here 21 Savage is dropping bars like live on the toilet, I stand on my shit. And then the outro, Dark Days, this is one of 21 Savage's best written songs ever, where after this mega violent gang life glorifying album 21, this is kind of like the curtain call, as 21 is referenced in Instagram posts and in interviews before. He kind of, the whole 21 Savage thing is kind of an act, and he's really against all the violence, and it does pose the question of, if you're really against the violence and this and that, why would you glorify it? But we're not here to have that debate today, because I think it goes both ways. I could make an argument for either side, but yeah, this is 21 Savage in a very powerful outro to the album, speaking about how all the trauma he's endured from his time in the streets, from all the terrible things he's done, all the things he's lost, all the people he's lost, and how much he regrets it and doesn't recommend it for anybody else. He throughout the song he's saying, put the guns down, stay in school, don't do it, it's not worth it. And I think it's a very powerful message coming from someone like 21 Savage, and it does bring this album to a great close with one of his best written tracks ever, not to mention Young Thug's fiance, or maybe girlfriend, I don't know their relationship status, Mariah the Scientist, gives a super powerful chorus here. But yeah, in terms of American Dream as a whole, it does kind of have this split in terms of, you get the instrumentals that have very soulful bass productions versus the very high speed, high tempo, like not classic or standard, but just like very trap heavy, and the soulful instrumentals are trap beats as well. But I mean, this is like fast paced, like trap bangers, and then you also get the couple of more R&B cuts and more personal cuts on the end of the album. So you get some good variety here, well, all kind of operating in a similar soundscape. This is, like I said, a really great album from 21 Savage. I think the production definitely helps, especially when, I don't want to say he faces criticism, but maybe people wonder, can he do it without Metro? And although there's a couple Metro Boomin beats on here, he totally does and curates a super nice and unique soundscape from anything we really heard from him before, at least in terms of these soulful trap beats. Although not bringing a whole bunch of personal writing to this album, excluding tracks like Letter to My Brother and Dark Days. This is pretty standard for 21. Like I said, talking about that gang banging, that shooting, that violence, that sex. Of course, he's rapping about all that, but he is giving you very great and very clever anecdotes, as he always does, or not anecdotes, analogies, I should say, for these things, which what makes his music so good, so fun. It's just got memorable bars, funny punchlines, and catchy choruses, which 21 all does super well here. His delivery and cold demeanor is always on point as well, and I feel like some people might think they're getting tired of 21 Savage, but this album just proves the longevity he could have as long as he's willing to take risks a little bit, experiment a little bit. Again, this doesn't deviate too much from an album like I Am Greater Than I Was, but it executes just as well. And that might just be the 21 Glazer in me coming out, because 21 is one of my favorite rappers. But I mean, yeah, again, not the strongest lyricist, not the deepest content in the world, even in the trap scene, but he works super well with for what he's doing. And the feature list here is also super strong. Like, yeah, Brent Faiyaz is missed, but you got Summer Walker kills it. You got Mariah the Scientist killing it. Lil Durk with a genuinely, like, I don't want to say career defining, but one of his best features ever. Travis Scott taking it back to Days Before Rodeo vibes to give you a super raw feature. Doja Cat with a super memorable and fun feature. Young Thugs, yeah, maybe not the best, but it's still great to see him here. And Metro placements throughout the album. I don't see how you cannot love this album. This is like the perfect storm of things in the American Dream, and an album that I love from 21 Savage. I'm going to be giving it an 8.0 out of 10. Like I mentioned in the future review, I'm going to possibly move away from these decimal ratings just because I'm not trying to be as hypercritical about music these days. And I am, until I come up with an official new rating system, will be also incorporating with the decimal rating the enjoyment ratings, and I will be giving The American Dream, like I gave We Don't Trust You, 4 fingers out of 5 in terms of enjoyment, because I mean, yeah, I love this album. It's been one of my favorites since I released, been on repeat, and there's so many songs here in my rotation. But let me know in the comments what songs are in your rotation. What are you giving this? Is this 21 Savage's best album? Just talk to me, guys. Let me know what's up. But any of you guys who are tuning in, I appreciate it. It means the world. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, turn the bell on, all of that shit. And I will catch you in the next one. Peace.